The 1970s were a defining era for the NFL, a decade of brutal hits, legendary rivalries, and teams that built dynasties from the ground up. It was a time when the league transformed, solidifying football as America's most beloved sport. But among all the teams that took the field during this golden era, 5 stood above the rest. These teams didn't just win games, they defined an era, built legacies, and shaped the future of football. But who were they? Let's dive into the top 5 NFL teams of the 1970s. When you think of dominant defenses in the 70s, the Purple People Eaters come to mind. The Minnesota Vikings, led by legendary coach Bud Grant, were one of the most consistent and feared teams of the decade. Their defense, starring Alan Page, Carl Eller, and Jim Marshall, struck fear into every offense they faced. Quarterback Fran Tarkenton was a magician on the field, extending plays and making big throws when it mattered. The Vikings reached 4 Super Bowls in the decade, but unfortunately they never secured the ultimate prize. Despite this, their dominance in the NFC, their defensive prowess, and their relentless consistency made them one of the great teams of the 1970s. Though they couldn't capture a championship, they consistently battled the best teams in the league and were a nightmare for opposing offenses. Their cold-weather toughness and discipline made them perennial contenders, and even though they fell short in Super Bowls, their impact on the era was undeniable. Their resilience and defensive excellence remain a benchmark for teams today. The Vikings were not just a team that showed up in big games, they owned their division. From 1973 to 78, they won 6 consecutive NFC Central titles, showcasing a dominance that few teams could rival. Their consistent presence in the playoffs meant they were always in the conversation as one of the best, even if they never got over the Super Bowl hump. In the early 70s, the Miami Dolphins were nothing short of unstoppable. Coached by the legendary Don Shula, they became a powerhouse with a formula built on discipline, defense, and a punishing ground game. The 1972 season was their crowning achievement. They went a perfect 17-0, the only team in NFL history to complete a season undefeated, capping it off with a Super Bowl VII victory over Washington. The Dolphins' no-name defense and a backfield featuring Larry Zonka and Mercury Morris dominated opponents. They followed up with another Super Bowl win in 1973, cementing their place as one of the greatest teams of the decade. What made the Dolphins truly special was their balanced attack. Quarterback Bob Griese was the perfect field general, managing games efficiently while running backs wore down defenses. Their offensive line was one of the best in history, paving the way for a ground and pound attack that simply overpowered opponents. Their back-to-back Super Bowl wins put them in elite company and solidified their dynasty status. Beyond their 2 titles, the Dolphins made the playoffs 5 straight years from 70 to 74, proving they were more than just a one-hit wonder. Their combination of coaching genius, a methodical offense, and an elite defense allowed them to dominate early in the decade and create a legacy that still stands today. If there was one team in the 70s that embodied toughness, swagger, and sheer intimidation, it was the Oakland Raiders. Under Al Davis and head coach John Madden, the Raiders played with an edge, earning a reputation as the bad boys of the league. Their motto? Just win, baby! Led by Ken Stabler at quarterback, with weapons like Cliff Branch and a defense anchored by Jack Tatum, the Raiders were always in the mix for a championship. Their Super Bowl XI victory in 1976 was their crowning achievement. They dismantled the Minnesota Vikings 32-14, proving that their tough, aggressive style wasn't just for show, it was built for championships. But what truly set the Raiders apart was their deep-rooted culture of defiance. They thrived on being the underdogs and playing the game with a physicality that bordered on recklessness. Their legendary battles with Pittsburgh and Miami defined the era, making them one of the most entertaining and feared teams in NFL history. With Madden at the helm, they revolutionized the game with innovative plays and an unapologetic attitude. Throughout the decade, the Raiders won 87 regular season games, more than any other team. They made the playoffs every year from 70 to 77, proving they weren't just about intimidation, they were about winning. Their wild, rebellious nature made them one of the most beloved teams of all time. If the 1970s had a team that truly captured the imagination of football fans, it was the Dallas Cowboys. Dubbed America's team, they were the perfect blend of flash and function, starring in 5 NFC Championship games and winning 2 Super Bowls. Led by the brilliant mind of Tom Landry, the Cowboys had an innovative offense and a defense known as the Doomsday Defense, featuring legends like Randy White and Harvey Martin. On the offensive side, they had stars like Roger Staubach, the clutch quarterback who engineered multiple comeback wins, and Tony Dorsett, the electrifying running back who gave defenses nightmares. They won Super Bowl VI in 1971 and Super Bowl XII in 1977. proving they were not just a team of showmanship, but of substance. Beyond their championships, the Cowboys set the standard for modern football with their precision passing attack and high-powered offense. They were ahead of their time with creative play calling and a disciplined approach. Their consistency throughout the decade meant they were always in contention, making them a true dynasty in every sense of the word. The Cowboys had an astounding .700 winning percentage during the decade, making them a true powerhouse. With 20 consecutive winning seasons from 1966 to '85, their success extended beyond just the '70s, cementing them as one of the great teams of all time. Before the '70s, Pittsburgh was a struggling franchise with no championships. But then, everything changed. Under the leadership of Chuck Noll, the Steelers built the perfect team through the NFL draft, picking future Hall of Famers like Terry Bradshaw, Franco Harris, Lynn Swann, Jack Lambert, and Mean Joe Green. Their legendary steel curtain defense was a nightmare for opposing offenses, and their hard-nosed, smash-mouth football led to 4 Super Bowl titles in just 6 years, an unprecedented feat at the time. No team won more Super Bowls in a single decade than the Steelers in the '70s. Their hard-nosed approach, combined with star power and brilliant coaching, made them the dynasty of the era, setting the tone for the future of the NFL. What made the Steelers truly special was their ability to evolve. They started the decade as a run-heavy, defensive team, but developed into an explosive passing offense by the late '70s. This team wasn't just great, they were legendary, setting the standard for excellence in football. Their roster was a who's who of Hall of Famers, a testament to their unmatched drafting and development. They won 10 or more games in 6 different seasons, dominated their division, and delivered in the biggest moments. The Steelers didn't just win, they created a blueprint for building a long-lasting championship team. No discussion of NFL greatness is complete without them. The 1970s were a decade of legendary football, and these 5 teams defined the era. Which team do you think was the greatest of the 1970s? Let me know in the comments below. Please be sure to like and subscribe. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.